Now we're going to look at how you would model multiplication of fractions on paper. So what kind of a model could you use for this? We're not going to use a number line. We're going to use what's called an area model. So we're going to multiply 2/5 by 2/3 using this area model. So you're going to start by just drawing a big rectangle to represent the whole. It should just be a big blank rectangle. I know mine's already got some lines in it. And when you say 2/5 by 2/3, like if you go to buy an 8 by 10 picture frame, what you're saying is the dimensions are literally 8 inches by 10 inches. So when we say 2/5 by 2/3, we're going to do 2/5 as one dimension and 2/3 as the other dimension. It doesn't matter because of the commutative property. It doesn't matter which one you start with, which one is going to be the columns and which one is going to be the rows. It makes no difference. But just for consistency's sake in the video, I'm going to always make the first fraction be the columns. So I'm going to draw 2/5, and I'm going to shade what that would look like as columns. So you can see I've already got this broken into 5 columns. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade 2 of those fifths, and I'm going to shade them in blue. Again, I'm going to try to be consistent with my colors. All right, so there's 2/5 shaded, right? So that's what 2/5 would look like going down that direction. What I'm going to do is now pretend that none of that exists, and what I'm going to do is 2/3 going the horizontal direction. And I'm going to do this shading in yellow. It's going to be my rows. So again, pretend that the blue and these vertical lines don't exist. We're starting over with a new rectangle. I'm going to split it into thirds going in rows. So you just kind of do your best to kind of eyeball it. I'm going to break this into thirds. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade 2 of those rows, right? 2 of those thirds. And I'm going to shade the 2 on the top. And I'm going to do it in yellow. So there's 1/3 shaded. Now I'm going to shade 2/3. Go in that direction. So I have blue columns and I have yellow rows, and I've got 2/5 going one direction and I've got 2/3 going the other direction. So what we have so far is this. And we're trying to figure out how to explain what the answer is. So this is my columns. This is my rows. Again, this is my blue. 2/3 is my yellow. And if you multiply straight across, you can see that the answer is 4/15. But what we want to do is, where is 4/15 in the model? Like, how do you read it off of the model? So I hope that you can see that where the blue and the yellow overlap, you get this green region. And we all know that blue and yellow make green. That's why I chose these colors. So when you highlight the blue and the yellow together, where the rows intersect the columns, you notice it's 4 little squares. So that's what the top is, right? This is the numerator here, is the overlap. So on the picture, the blue represents one fraction, the yellow represents the other fraction, the green, the overlap, is the numerator of the answer. And the answer down here at the bottom, the 15, is if you take 5 intersected with 3, go in the other direction, 5 times 3 is 15. So this is the total number of little squares. Squares, rectangles, whatever you want to call it. But when you do a 5 by 3, that's the array part of this. That's what makes this an area model. So the 15 is the 5 by 3, and then the overlap would be the numerator. So that's how you can use an area model to represent multiplication of fractions. So let me show you another one, because you really don't get good at these until you try a bunch of them. So we're going to multiply 1/2 times 3/4 using an area model, and you can see we're starting with a completely blank slate here. All right, so I'm going to start with my 1/2, and I'm going to do 1/2 going down this direction. So all I have to do is split this in half, 2 columns. So if I split that in half that way, and then I shade half, right? I'm going to shade this. Just this first big fat column that we have. Down here. So there I shaded half of the rectangle going in a vertical direction. Now going the other direction, I'm going to shade 3/4. So 3/4 is going to go this way. So going horizontally, I have to split this into fourths. So again, just kind of eyeball it. Do the best you can. And I am going to shade 3 of those 4 rows. So I'm going to any 3 that you want. It doesn't matter. There's 1, 2, 3. So I've shaded 3 rows horizontally, I've shaded a half vertically, and so I know that 1/2 times 3/4. On the picture, what the green tells me, these 3 green little rectangles where we have the overlap, that tells me the numerator of the answer. And the fact that this is a 2 by 4, 2 times 4, 8. So again, this was the column. This is the row. And then as far as the answer goes, that's the overlap. And that's how you read one of these area models. So, well, this is how you create one. Now I'm going to show you how you can read one. So what we're going to ask you to do in this problem is to go backwards. So where you've got these like columns intersecting these rows and what you're seeing is it all together, we're going to be asking you to break it back apart. And so I tried to keep the colors the same to make it easy, but we've got to figure out what is the fraction that's going this way. That would be the blue. So if you just look vertically, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns, and the blue down at the bottom tells me 3 of those 5 columns were shaded. So we're looking at the columns here. And we know that this was split into, I'm going to say, fifths. Right? So splitting it into columns this way, it's fifths. And I can see that that's 3 of the fifths were shaded. And going the other direction, you can see if you count the rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 rows. So this is going to be fourths. Let me turn my paper here. Fourths go in that direction, right? And if I look to see how many of them have yellow, 3 of them. 3 of those fourths have yellow. So those are the rows. So 3 of the 4. 3 of the 4 rows have yellow. 3 of the 5 columns have blue. And if we look at the green overlap, if you count, there are 9 green squares and there's 20 total squares. So that's how you know what is actually being modeled. So this is 3/5 that's being intersected with 3/4, and you're getting an overlap of 9/20. So that is the area model for multiplication, and you need to be able to do both. Create one from the problem or look at one that's already created and then determine what problem was being modeled.